Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this video I'm just going to share with you some tips for drawing the figure from imagination or when you're gesture drawing or life drawing. So my first tip is to start your drawing session with some throwaways. So just be very loose and don't expect much. Sometimes I'll start with scribbles, or other times it's just like, it doesn't matter if it's scribbles or not. Maybe it is something a bit more, concrete. But the thing is, I won't put too much pressure on myself for the first few drawings. I consider it like, yeah, these drawings are probably going to be warm-ups. They're going to help me get in the mood for drawing. They're going to help warm my hand up and my arm and stuff. But they're not necessarily going to be like the greatest drawings. So I think it's really important to consider that you have a certain amount of time that you're going to be drawing for and how to use that time best. And for me, it's about an hour and a half that I have of usable energy. And it tends to be about 3 hours maximum of very focused energy, but an hour and a half of that is my limit. And I know other people have a higher limit, or maybe even less of a limit, but for me, it is about an hour and a half, and then I need to take a break. Even if that's only a 5-minute break, that helps. So figuring out your energy level is really important, because that will help you space out how you're going to be drawing and make the most of the day of drawing. Because you don't want to say that, okay, I'm going to draw for 7 hours and just go 7 hours straight with no breaks and find that, you're not energized, you're not drawing freely, like you don't have a good flow, you're not thinking quickly. This is not what you want. You want to be sort of sharp. And so the first few drawings, like, this is not important. It's less about the result. It's more just about moving your pencil on the page, or the stylus, or the pen, or whatever it is. It's just getting movement, getting flow. And I try to use more flowy lines simply because that's what I'm going to be using. That's what I want to see, later on. And in the beginning, sometimes my lines can be very stiff and maybe chicken scratchy, kind of like you're almost nervous, especially if it's the first drawing of the day and you're a little bit like, okay, I'm drawing and it's a little bit timid. I would say let your first drawings be timid. It's okay. It's not a big deal, because the more you're going to do, the more you're going to warm up. So another thing I would consider when doing this is don't make the first few drawings that 30-minute long finished piece. That's something you don't want to do. Like, these are warm-up drawings. Always give yourself that chance to warm up, to get in the mood or in the zone or whatever it is. So yeah, that's the first tip. All right, my next tip is to use flowy lines and rhythmic lines. Like, don't create your figures based off too many straights, because I feel this is where you get stiff poses. So you'll have like a guy and let's say they're just doing something, they're just standing. Okay, so we have a straight line to the knee and a straight line to the foot, and the same thing for the arm, might be something like this. And you can see just how stiff this looks, and it's because it's based on straight lines. It's built on all these straight lines. And I really don't like building a character off something too straight. It feels just way too stiff. What I prefer doing is to build a character off curves. And think of it kind of like spaghetti noodles, right? So you've got the body, and then you can break the legs down and the arms into just like noodly lines, right? Something like this, and kind of like that, and like that. So here, it's like, well, and maybe I'll make this leg more straight just because, you've got this sort of pushed out. and then that. But it's still like a flowy line. It's one line. It's not, you know, hip bone, knee, ankle. It's not like that. It's just one flowy line. So I do that first, and then what I do is break down the position of the shoulders, and then halfway, like it's got to be halfway. So halfway from the shoulder to the hand is going to be the elbow. So then I can put the elbow in, and then even if I connect them with straight lines after, or I still use kind of curved lines, but straighter lines, there's just a lot more vitality in this character. So here's the hips, and then get the knee halfway, and it just feels a lot more interesting to me when it's built off a curve. Now another thing is to notice the hand positions. Now this comes about more in figure drawing from reference, right? So let's say you have a drawing and you have a model and they've got their hand up, and maybe this is the back, okay? And they're looking over their shoulder, and I don't know, some kind of pose like this, okay? So we have a pose like this, so the hand's up here. What I'll see often is people will they'll draw the head, then they'll draw the neck, and then they'll look for the arm, and they'll get the arm to the elbow, and then they might draw the hand back, and it's like, well, this is getting really wacky in terms of where's the hand, and then maybe the hand's here, and it's like, oh, but it's supposed to be on the head, and I've kind of messed up. The reason is that you're going from like point A to B to C to D. It's not good to do this because it's very difficult. What's much easier is to do it this way. Okay, sure, get the head, and you can get the body too. But now before you even put in the arms, look at the hand and just see where's the hand on the head, right? And then put that there. So put the hand in, and then you can get your shoulder and you can do like a curve to connect these, and look at how far the elbow is, right? But you can use a curve to get that, and then get the elbow, and then when you connect these, it's much easier, right? Because these are just going straight to the shoulder and to the wrist. And so you've got a much easier time of hand placement. So if you have trouble with hand placement, like let's say you have a figure, and they're standing, and they've got one of their hands on their hips, it's much easier to put in the hand, like get the torso in, right? And this is probably pretty common. A lot of people know that you can start with the head, or you can even start with just the torso and get this basic shape, and then put in the limbs, put in the arms and the legs and stuff. But yeah, you get that, and then you put the hand on the hip, and then you can get the shoulder, and then you can connect it, right? And again, I use flowy lines, and then go halfway, get the elbow, and then build the arm off that. And that's just a lot easier when it comes to placement. Okay, my next tip is when you're doing a figure drawing from a model. So let's say this is the model, and it could be from life, or it could be from photograph, or whatever. Let's say, you know, just this is the model. And you're drawing, and let's say this is your page, right? Something you want to do, and this is usually for longer poses, because for shorter poses people tend to draw smaller, which is good. Let's say this is our drawing board, and block in the area where you want your figure to be. So like the top of the head area and the bottom of the feet, like rough in just the area, and then when you draw it, you're more likely to, you know, fit that figure on the page, as opposed to if you just started with the head, for instance. Maybe you make the head like this big, and then you get to the neck, and then I see this a lot, even with digital, where you're getting close to the edge, so you start to try and fit everything in. Sorry. Yeah, so this is a bit exaggerated, but this kind of idea. So yeah, and that's the next tip, is just, you know, try and establish where your figure is going to be on the page before you start drawing them, and give yourself some room in case you made the legs a bit short and you want to increase the length or something. That's fine if you've given yourself some wiggle room. All right, so my final tip for today is when you see a model, let's say the model is here and they're doing this. Right? And let's say this model has curly hair and wears glasses. Okay, you don't have to draw the model. You can just draw the pose. And this is very good for practicing in getting better at drawing from imagination. Because I had a lot of trouble with this. And there's two really good ways of improving. One is just draw the pose and get used to drawing more in imagination, because both of them require imagination. The other is draw the person, but draw them in a different pose. So for instance, maybe this is the first pose, and then I could think like, oh, okay, I'm going to draw them, but I'm going to draw them from maybe from behind, right? So what are they doing from behind? What does that look like? Or from a different viewpoint. Because it just forces you to draw from, just use more of your imagination when you draw. So the other thing is, you could look at this and just do a different character, like maybe not a rabbit, maybe a bear. Right? So you have the bear, and the bear is this a bear? The bear is doing this pose, right? I mean, I guess it's a teddy bear, not a real bear, but yeah. So I hope these tips helped. I'll probably do some more tips at a later date, but yeah, hope that helped, and thanks for watching.